Wow, what a great introduction. Got some economic geeks in the house, hopefully. It's always great to be invited back to speak to the same audience repeatedly a number of years. It means I didn't screw up the forecast the last time around. So thank you for inviting me to come back. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what I'm seeing going on in the world, and certainly specifically when it comes to the housing market nationally and internationally as well. So to get going, GDP is how we define recessions, and this is the global market here we're looking at. And the bottom line is I do expect to see some softening through the course of this year and into next year as well. Now, a lot of it is going to be a function of what's going on across the globe in respect to what's happening with Israel and Palestine, what's happening with China and Taiwan. And so there's a lot of uncertainty out there. But the bottom line is I do expect to see modest slowdown, global GDP coming around 2.9% down from 3%. And here, what's interesting about the US, well, actually, I'll get to the US in a second. So you think about emerging nations, yeah, China's going to slow down. Xi Jinping is actually going to visit Joe Biden. Never thought I would see that happening. Anyway, so we are seeing some slowing down there as well. But overall, do I think we are going to continue to see reasonable expansion around the planet? I certainly do. But more importantly, what is going on here? And here's interesting. This is inflation. This number came out yesterday. It really annoyed Mackenzie because I'm calling up saying from the airport, please, I need to change a couple of my slides. And it's important for a lot of reasons we'll get to in a few moments. But the big concern we've had, obviously, as we all remember, was inflation. We hit 9% at its peak. Is it coming down? Yes, it is. And in fact, the print came out yesterday, remarkably low. And this is important. And it's important. Why? The Federal Reserve. I blame the Fed for everything. My kids' bad grades, bad teeth, blame the Fed. See, the Fed's what's called a dual mandate. That's two jobs. One is price stability, stable inflation, and one is full employment. Now, I could argue all day long you can't have both, but that's a topic for a different day. But what they can do in order to slow inflation is to slow the economy down. They can do that one way, and that is by raising interest rates. They control one interest rate, the Fed funds rate. It's actually the overnight lending rate between banks. But we saw the fastest increase in the Fed funds rate in over 40 years. And that had a lot of knock-on effects when it comes to housing, which I'll get to in a little bit. But as you can see here, total inflation coming down significantly. It was flat last month. The core minus food and energy, which are very volatile sectors, again, up, but only by 0.1% month on month. But then we have the super core. And the super core is core inflation minus shelter. And that's important because shelter has been driving the numbers that the Fed have been looking at. And that's not only rents, but it's also the owner equivalent rents. So if your clients would be renting the house that they own, what would they be paying? And that is 40%, literally, of CPI. The trouble is they're looking backwards. They're looking at what rents were historically over the last year, not looking forward. And looking forward has been remarkably flat. So over time, I expect that to come down, but you can see here, it is still heading the right direction. That is something which I hope will continue because that will help the housing market specifically. And here's why. We saw job growth massively through coming out of COVID. That raised wages. And think about it. Here I divide it by mid, high and low skilled workers. And low skilled workers tended to be actually in leisure and hospitality. And they were the first to be laid off. And then when they were asked to come back and work for no additional pay and to clean rooms they thought were diseased, not going to do that. And so we saw massive pay increases. So what does this mean? That means that your martini will cost you more, that steak will cost you more, that hotel room will cost you more. Is that inflationary? Yeah, it really is. You can see here, it has started to soften. Everything's going the right way. Now, the market is very cautious when it comes to the Fed for a couple of reasons. And here's why. This is the Fed funds rate. You can see here, did it spike? Oh boy, it did. Is it going to come down? Yes, it will. But historically speaking, the Fed has started raising rates too late, and they keep them high for too long. Well, check that first box. They started raising rates a year after, quite frankly, I believe they should have started. So that's bad. Question now is it's going to be how long are they going to keep them high? Higher for longer is something that Jed Powell's been talking about. Now, as I said to the start of my comments, that they control one rate, the Fed funds rate, They're trying to slow the economy down, but they're crap at it. No, I mean, they really are. Every time they do it, we've ended up, other than twice, we've ended up in a recession. And so that, again, is what the market is looking at today. Okay, they're raising rates, they keep them high too long. Hello, recession. But do I believe that's going to be the case? Actually, I don't. So we think about inflation. Is it coming down? Core rate, yeah, it'll be above that 2% mark. We won't get there until sometime in 2025. But should it be 2%? Again, topic for a different day. But the trend is going the right direction. And jobs are going to slow. We are adding jobs, but even the pace of job growth is slowing. Now, let me explain this to you. Let's say that 133 number you see there. That means we should have added 133,000 jobs per month in the quarter. But it is slowing, and it will turn negative sometime middle part of next year. Is that bad? Well, quite frankly, it's not. And here's what's going on with the labour market. Been very tight. Why? When COVID kicked in, a lot of our more mature workers, they're like, hell with this, I'm retiring. And off they went to Yuma, Arizona. It's where all people go to die. So they resign. But also at the same time, a lot of our younger workers, they had an early midlife crisis. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to become an author. And they left the workforce as well. We all know, under the previous administration, we shut down the borders, which is a terrible thing to have done anyway. But the point being is we have a lack of workers. That forces up wages and forces inflation higher. So we are going to see a slowdown because a lot of businesses, they're not going to hire more if they think there's going to be a recession. They will say, guess what? Work harder. And we won't hire any more people. So we'll see that slowing down. And because of that, GDP. Now, GDP, a recession is defined as 2 negative quarters. We had 2, but that doesn't really count. Blame COVID. But going forward, this is what I expect to see. This is my forecast. I think we will not see a recession. We'll have 1 negative quarter, middle part next year, and then we'll come back. However, a lot of other analysts are saying, no, look at what the Fed's doing, recession guaranteed. And they're coming in there. And they're saying, oh yeah, we actually will see 2 negative quarters, therefore technically a recession. However, at the same time, is it going to be bad? No, it's not. It's not 2007. It's not 2000. The great dot-com recession or dot-bomb recession hit us up in Seattle pretty hard. A lot like 1990, 1991, when most people went, we had a recession? Really? I missed it. And so it will be very, very modest, if it happens at all. Now, for the last year or so, people have been disagreeing with me, but Goldman Sachs came out with a paper a couple of months ago, which actually saying, yeah, maybe he's right. So there is not really consensus, yes or no, but don't be surprised if we do see a slowdown, not necessarily a recession. But what's interesting about it, if we do, or even if we see a significant slowdown, is what? More interest in housing. And that is certainly what I expect to see. But there are some issues about that, which I'll get to shortly. So, yeah, about 30% likelihood of a recession in the next 12 months. The labor market, resilient, but it's going to slow. And finally, the Fed they're stuck. Do too little, inflation remains high. But also, remember this, what happens next year? We have an election, that's right. Are they going to start lowering rates or raising them in an election year? Whichever, if they decide to do either up or down, one side of the aisle will complain like blue murder. There we go. They'll fake it. It's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. So they are stuck in a bit of a quandary. All right. So this is oh boy. Get your cocktails out. And here's why. Mortgage rates. Remember what I said? Blame the Fed. Okay. That's true. All right. So here we go. So if you look at the 30-year average rate, this is by week. What happened through COVID-19? Very straightforward. What happened was the Fed. The Fed, they wanted housing stability. They wanted everyone to stay in their house. Moratoria on evictions, can't get thrown out for not paying your rent. Forbearance, brilliant program, by the way. Within 2 months, 1 in 10 homes in America was in forbearance, which says that you don't have to pay your mortgage, you won't get foreclosed on, but you have to make the bank right. At the same time, the Fed went on their own spending spree. Literally, they were buying mortgage-backed securities and 10-year treasuries. How much, you ask? I'll tell you, $2.7 trillion. Trillion, by the way, 12 zeros. It's a lot. And by doing it, accepting remarkably low yields, what happened to mortgage rates? We got down sub 3% on a 30-year mortgage. That should never have happened. It really shouldn't. But it did. And what happened to the market? You all know. It exploded. So we've seen that. But right now, bonds are trying to find some kind of direction. So you all know, I'm sure, the mortgage rates are based on yield on 10-year treasuries. So but here we had a good treasury auction, push them down. Inflation, push them up. Oh, but banking crisis, down again. But big jobs report and a debt ceiling, debacle. And GDP was revised up, but inflation slowed, so it came down again. Fed raised rates again. Bank of Japan started selling and higher for longer, but what happened the last couple of weeks? Massive, massive drop. Why? Because the job market was slowing. 150,000 jobs last month, not 170. Because inflation was slowing. All these are a positive for treasuries. And certainly if you go into a recession, you'll see treasury yields drop even further and therefore mortgage rates. Now, if you look at conventional and jumbo, really kind of running in lockstep right now. This is just a monthly rate. So it is more expensive, but believe me, rates are going to come down. Just got to be a bit patient. But there's a problem with it. Here we go. So when you look at average rates, that is the biggest drop we've seen in a very, very long time in mortgage rates, not bond yields. So is it better? Yeah. Is it the sub 3 you'd all like it to be? Sorry. Oh, I will tell you one thing, by the way. Millennials. I blame the Fed and millennials for most things. I'm Gen X. We just hate everyone. What is a millennial has not seen a mortgage rate above 5% in their adult lives. Just think on that for a few seconds. So they're looking at this and saying, oh, no, this is daylight robbery. This is egregious. This is a rip-off. I say the same thing to them. Sit down, grasshopper. Let me explain some things to you. Where were mortgage rates in 1982? 18% plus points, 20%. In the 90s, they averaged 12%. And so we have come down, and really consistently since the early 1980s. Are we going to get back to that level? I'm afraid not. Well, we really aren't. It was fake. It was false. It was made up because of, blame the Fed. But here's the problem. This, Ledger, is the first meme I ever created personally. I did. There you go. It is so true, though. And this was one of the things the Fed didn't think about. They thought, great, lower mortgage rates, we want to stimulate the housing market. Yes, we want stability, people to have shelter, but we want to encourage them to buy a new home. Why? What do we do when we buy a new home? We buy stuff, big stuff. And that's what they wanted, and they achieved it. Here either bought a new home or refinanced their homes during COVID. I basically kind of, I did twice. Oh, no, I kid you not, I really did. I've got a 2% 20-year mortgage. I mean, it's free money. It's ridiculous. But here's the kicker. You'll have to pry that mortgage from my cold, dead fingers. It's true. And that is where we are today in the housing market. It's because now we are still seeing people move. People are still moving. My forecast for this year nationally will probably be coming in around 4.1 million resale transactions. Terrible compared to the last couple of years, and actually terrible historically speaking, but not because of a lack of demand, because of a lack of supply. Sales will be up next year, I believe, probably 15% at a minimum. Why? Because as rates start to come down, which I'll talk about in a minute, well, once you get to within 1.5% of the mortgage rate you're holding, it's less compelling to stay. Now, people will still move for the 3 classic reasons: job change, death, divorce. But what's missing is the 4th reason: discretionary, the choice to move. And the big problem is we're kind of stuck in the thing, game theory. It's kind of like the prisoner's dilemma. So we know the market, if I want to sell my home, is good. You guys who sell houses, not a problem. But if there's nothing out there for me to buy, why will I sell? And we are all kind of stuck in that paradigm right now. So yeah, selling, that's pretty straightforward. But no, I can't find anything, so I'm not going to sell. If we all decided we were going to sell, the market would get back to normal. Unfortunately, however, it won't. But as rates drop, I expect to see supply, which is still notching up in certainly the luxury sector, but it's still down by 40+% from the same period in 2019. So is it normalized? No, it's not. Are buyers out there? Sure. If they do see the economy slowing down, investment in housing Absolutely, it's a positive. And also, they're taking cash. I mean, nationally, over 30% of transactions are all cash buyers. So that's happening, but we are in this weird situation right now. And so here's the kicker. This gives you a better idea. This is nationally. So right now, you've got 80% of homeowners with a mortgage got a rate at 5% or lower. 80%. And that's 4.5. It's a remarkable figure. You see how it drops off the higher the mortgage rate is. So that is a lot of households waiting. They might want to move, but they're waiting for rates to come down. And I think that they will. And every market is certainly different. This, if I was to use this chart, let's say for California, we're looking at about 87%. For Washington State, about 86%. The lows actually tend to be in the Midwest, mainly around Ohio. But we have a lot of people out there who are just saying, I don't want to give up this mortgage rate. I don't think I'll ever see it again. And they would be right. And they would be right. Are we ever going to go back? No. I mean, it's possible, highly unlikely, and it would require a massive shift in terms of, in essence, the overall economy. But do I believe the rates are going to drop? Yeah, they will. And ultimately, what's called the terminal rate, which is the long-term rate for mortgages going forward, I believe is going to be somewhere in the 5 to 5.5% range. And that's going to be pretty straightforward. Could it be lower? Yes, but guess what? We have a lot of debt. I mean, a lot of debt. $33 trillion worth. And that means, how do you service that debt? You've got to issue debt to do it. And that means there's only so much demand for treasuries to buy our debt. We already had 2 entities now downgraded US debt. So, yes, glass half full, I believe that's the case. Have rates peaked already? Yes, they have. Are they going to come down? Yeah, they will. But it's going to take a bit of time. And here's my forecast. I think the rates peaking actually is in this quarter, with average on 30 about 7.35%. Slowly notching down to around 6% by the end of next year, into the 5s the year after. And that, again, should be the terminal rate. I expect that to be pretty much where it's going to stay long term. Now, are we going to continue to see sales? Well, yeah, demographically speaking, we have a lot of those retirees or pre-retirees. They're going to look to downsize, hopefully. But here's the problem. Right now, they're not doing it fast enough. They really aren't. Do you want to know why? They got too much stuff. Think about it. Now, you're supposed to be downsizing, moving into multifamily or just a smaller home, but no. I said they've got too many belongings, and it does not matter. If grandma brought the dresser across in a covered wagon in 1780, give it to the kids, eBay next week. Literally. So they're either not moving or they're moving laterally into an equivalent-sized home. So we just need them to start downsizing, get rid of some of the junk, please. And that will certainly help the market, because if they're not downsizing, the move-up buyers, they're limited with their options. And if they're stuck, then what happens to the first-time buyers? They're shot. And that is anything that worries me about the housing market in the US today. It's not the luxury market. It really isn't. You guys are going to be just fine. We'll see inventory increasing. We've seen sale prices certainly still notching higher, modestly so, across the country, but still going up. But it is those youngsters. My son William, he's actually a sophomore at Gonzaga University in Washington State, go Zags. I fear that once he gets his undergrad, then he goes to grad school, where's he going to be able to afford to buy somewhere in 6 years' time? He is not moving back in with me. I changed the locks. Oh, I really did. I got this great kind of cool press button thing now. No, yeah, he doesn't know the number. So, well, we have, again, think of those younger millennials. Then you got Gen Z, which is Williams, coming up behind them. So a decade-plus wave of demand. But where's the supply going to be? Could we build it? Yes. Will they build it? No, they won't. New constructions are still too expensive. Land's expensive, labor's expensive, materials are expensive, regulatory fees, these kinds of things. So they're building to the luxury end of the market where they can find a margin. But even then, builders right now, outside of the custom world, well, they're offering a lot of discounts, a lot of concessions. 2 builders build 50% of America's homes. 2 builders, literally. And right now they both have a program with a 3% for the first year mortgage, 4% for the second year, and 5% for year 3 forward. That is compelling. But again, it is about affordability given where mortgage rates are. So this is my forecast. You say, well, yeah, Matthew's probably right, but he might be wrong, maybe. I'm not, but I could be. I have an occasional Zoom happy hour, some friends of mine. They're the chief economists of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Wells Fargo. mortgage bankers. So we're a dry group, but a couple of cocktails, we can be fun. No, we really can. Okay. Anyway, this is what I think, and this is what they think relative to rates, annual rates for 2023 and 2024. And other than Fannie Mae, who, by the way, nice guy, likes his Manhattans, maybe just a bit too much. He thinks rates will be flat this year, but outside of him, we all believe that rates are going to be lower in 2024 than they were in 2023. But that is the good part. Not just lower. Same thing. We're not going to be down sub 3, but certainly getting better. That's going to allow likely more inventory for you guys to sell. That's going to be a positive. At the same time, as I mentioned earlier on, a lot of cash out there. And if we do see that recession or just a more significant slowing down in the economy, what happens? Money moves out of equities into the safety of bonds. That pushes mortgage rates lower. Or they'll take that money they've made in the market and they'll buy real estate. Real estate historically goes up in value through recessionary periods. It literally does. It didn't one time, 2007. Why? Housing caused the recession. And that's why. But outside of that, it always does. It will always be counterintuitive, but it is safe. And it's also a great hedge against inflation as well. You're actually making money, even though inflation, although coming down, is higher than we've seen it. So, nationally, what's interesting about the luxury market that I've seen is very similar to the overall market. Lack of inventory, sure, although inventory has notched up a little bit. But again, compared to 2019, everyone wants to look at the last couple of years. They were fake. They weren't real. Go back to 2019, the last real year we had pre-COVID, and see what was going on then. So modest increase there, but home sellers say, I pruned my rhododendron tree, or at least my workers did. My house is worth 100 grand more than the guy next door. You will always know absolutely far more accurately how much somebody's worth than they do because they looked at Zillow. And don't do that. Oh, should use my indoor voice, I'm sorry. But we have seen sale prices rising, again, around that 4% range. Think about the US as a whole, looking at the top 5%, but still rising. But transactional velocities are lower because of lack of supply. Either you've seen it move up a little bit. Certainly there's a greater interest in resort locations, very much so, that they are still popular. Although one market that has changed, interesting to me, is actually Montana. I was giving a speech in Montana a while ago. Never seen more private planes landing and taking off in Billings Airport. It's ridiculous. But we saw a massive wave of people moving there, a lot actually out of California. I watched too many episodes of Yellowstone. They literally did. Anyway, I was speaking to some people there and said, here's what's going to happen. Those people that bought there, next year they're going to sell. And they're like, no, they won't. I said, yes, they will. And did they? Yep, they did. Why? Exactly. A California has never seen 8 feet of snow in his life, unless he'd gone to Aspen. So, and also, they got their brand new rig, and just because it says 4WD on a little lever does not make you invincible. Anyway, so we saw that going on. But outside of that, yeah, resorts, certainly destinations, still very, very popular. And I think that will continue. Second homes as well. Again, hedging against inflation, alternative location for people's cash. Again, very popular. So if you look at where markets are growing in terms of the number of listings, this is year-on-year change, you'll see a lot of these images are very similar, because a lot of the luxury market and the biggest shifts you've seen are in Texas, are in California, are in Florida, and occasionally actually in Virginia, which is kind of interesting. So, yeah, and Hawaii, obviously. So markets, yeah, there are some who have got a significant increase, relatively speaking, in inventory. So listings are up. Again, the Florida is interesting. Florida, because we had a massive migration coming down out of New York. And that absolutely drove a lot of that market. Has that stopped yet? Not so much. But they were coming down. They either stopped in Georgia or they kept on coming down. So, but where we're seeing a lot lower inventory levels, California and Nevada, Arizona, and Idaho. Idaho's interesting. Idaho actually really wasn't considered a form of luxury market, but Ada County became that way. Why again? Boise became cool. I never thought I would say that. Oh no, I was in Boise back giving a speech in the mid-90s. I couldn't get out of that place quick enough. Terrible place. Went back there in 2015 to give a speech, and it's reminiscent of the Gaslamp district in San Diego. Kind of cool, kind of hit. Great regional airport, recreation all over the place. and also back then ridiculously cheap. Home prices have doubled in Ada County in the last couple of years. I mean, doubled. Quite extraordinary. So again, not all markets are created equal. Now, if you look at list prices, again, where are people saying, guess what? It's more, well, California, no surprises there. But also Arizona, Aspen, Colorado, again, destination. So there are markets which really can feel unto themselves that, yeah, we are resilient, we're going to do great. And obviously Fort Lauderdale down in Florida as well. But again, not areas are created equal. So yes, we talked about Florida up. Well, in some respect, down. If you look here, well, the beaches around Jacksonville, a significant drop in asking prices. So every market is local. What we are seeing very much is that people want homes to be move-in ready, literally. And they're not going to mess around. We have to fix this, fix that. Technology is very big for them, but they want to pick their stuff up, move in, and get on with their lives. And they'll do that, especially given where mortgage rates are. If they are financing, do they really want to spend? No. And again, I was giving a speech in California a while ago, and a broker told me there that great demand still for what he calls cream puff houses. Cream puff. Priced right, ready to move into, good to go. This is in Riverside, which is actually where we saw a lot of other people from the LA basin moving out to Riverside because it was remarkably affordable. Remarkable being 70+% of homes that sold a couple of years ago were affordable to a household making median income. That number right now, 8%. 8%, remarkable change. So this price of drop. Sales, however, again, up in Nevada. And it's in Lake Tahoe. Nevada side of Lake Tahoe does well. California side, not so much. But the sales, massive increase. I mean, look at Naples. Look at Marco Island, Florida. Again, you can look at these big numbers, but also remember this is a percentage change. So that means if you've got a very small market, you can see massive shifts in those kind of transactional velocities. Sales dropping, again, Douglas County, Colorado, parts of Maryland, Virginia. So know your market. What's the reason your market is there? Why is it doing what it does? What is it reliant on anything? The destination? What's driving that economy? Why are people going to want to buy there? These are all things, understanding and being really close to the ground in really kind of getting in there and understand the details of your market is important because as you can see here, what's happening is that, yeah, there are some markets which absolutely are outperforming others. Sale prices are up, Flagstaff, Arizona. Again, several markets in Florida and up in Virginia and up in New York, actually West New York. So it's, again, seeing that balance. Prices down, again, a couple of them also up in Canada as well. Canada's suffering the same things as we are down here, high interest rates, and their federal government is also going to keep rates higher there as well. In Europe, you're in the Eurozone, yeah, very similar. They're actually having even more stubborn inflation than we see here. And so most of the ECB are actually saying, yeah, we're also going to keep rates higher for longer. So it's not just unique to America. We think we're special, but this is happening around the planet when it comes to all housing markets, not just the luxury side. So yeah, cash has been used a lot more in the last year than we've seen previously. Mortgage rates will drop. Yeah, as they do, well, you're not going to see that cooling. There's going to be some more inventory that's going to get more interest on would-be home sellers, and then you can actually become that self-fulfilling prophecy. The house out there to buy, I will list. I'm not seeing anything out there. Why would I? As rates start dropping, that's going to be a positive as well. Yeah, so we have seen listing activity up, but it's still down 40+%. But a home that's ready to move into, will still sell. This market is just fine. It is recovering from something that no one actually wrote the book about, the pandemic. Were bad moves made by the government? Yeah, they were. But as we go through next year, it will be better than this year. Get it right, get the pricing right, get the demand situation right in your marketplace, and it's going to be okay. Yes, rates are higher than we become used to. Doesn't mean they are terribly high. All our parents remember those 20% mortgage rates. Not going back up there. It can be a slow slog down, but it is going to still be coming down. So in closing, what do I think? I've always been a glass half full economist. That's just me. There aren't that many of us around. Me, Mark, Zandy, and a few others, but in general, they tend to be kind of more depressing. Well, they are. But we look at the same numbers. The great thing, the reason why I studied economics, is that numbers don't lie. They don't. There's no grey. It's black or white. That's why I like it. And as I look at them for the next year for you guys, and really for housing in general, what do I see? I see a market that's getting back on its feet, getting better. Inventory levels will start to rise. Transactions will start to come back. It won't be 2021 or 2022 again. Sorry, it won't. I'm kind of happy about that. I really am. But move toward normality is far better than us going completely overboard with the potential of the market crashing again. You have been really patient with this old English guy for the last half an hour. I appreciate it. I'll be around for us until tomorrow morning if you want to chat about anything specifically. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you for your attention.